Recorded live from the Maddie Johnson podcast studio at GOT Sound Studio in Columbia, South Carolina. This is the All About Nothing podcast. The views expressed on this program are the opinions of the host. Some content and subject matter may not be appropriate. Listener discretion is advised. Listeners are encouraged to follow the show at theallaboutnothing.com for links to social media and more. Listeners can call the show at 803-672-0533. Thank you for listening.
All right, welcome back to the All About Nothing podcast. This is Barrett Gruber, Trent Clark, Zac King here with us, and this week our guest is Daniel Shrief, the Democratic nominee for District 88, South Carolina House of Representatives. Thank you for being here, Daniel. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Yeah. You actually represent my district.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic.
And I am very appreciative of the fact that there is someone running in our district against RJ May because he ran unopposed in 2020. So honestly, I don't even know how he made it to my porch because there was no point in him campaigning. He needed at least one vote.
Probably seen you mowing your lawn.
Yeah, or somebody else's lawn.
Saw you on
Yes.
TikTok mowing your lawn, sir.
That is not that's not the number one views that I have now. I have almost reached 10,000 views with a video on TikTok of Brian Kilmeade losing his soul from Fox News as his soul leaves his body.
You slowly watch his face just
Morph, yeah, but almost 10,000 views on that.
that's
Ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Again, it's another one of those TikTok videos that I did literally nothing for.
see. I try and make a TikTok video.
Yeah.
Barrett
Right.
doesn't try.
Yeah.
Just puts a video.
It's magic. I did want to bring up real quick yesterday. So we're recording on August the 3rd. This episode is not going to drop until later in August, but I did want to point out that Kansas had its primaries yesterday, and there was a referendum vote to potentially ban abortions in Kansas. And congratulations to Kansas because they voted against it.
yeah.
So there will not be a ban on abortions in Kansas because constitutionally they're going to leave that in place.
Yeah, but the bad side is they did let Whit Merrifield go to Toronto. So, no, kidding. Yes, no, that's excellent. Excellent.
Very true.
Excellent.
I don't think Kansas had anything to do with Merrifield.
Kansas City.
Yeah.
I know it's Missouri.
I was
but
gonna
you
say,
get what
yeah,
I'm
it's the other side. So Daniel's here because we're going to discuss your campaign, and we're going to discuss the issues that you're campaigning on because we want to make sure that at least from the stands of all of South Carolina, because when you're elected, your votes will impact all the states. So it's important. It's important to get that out there. So District 88 is West Columbia, some KC down towards the was it Pine Ridge and that sort of area.
Right.
So it's a pretty expansive district as far as the size. That it's I've lived in this area now for 20 years.
Right.
And it's usually pretty heavily Republican, but it just in my neighborhood, I've noticed that we have seen a diversification of there's a lot more minorities that moved into our area, which I'm thankful for because I think that allows for everyone to be more
diverse and inclusive.
Yeah, it's more inclusive that way. So one of the things that I was excited to see that there was someone at least running was that we're not just handing a job over to RJ May again, because I'd rather see him spend his money than just giving a free job.
Yeah, you got to contest that kind of thing. I mean, you can't let anybody run unopposed. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Sadly, in South Carolina, though, we still have 55 seats that are going unopposed.
Yeah.
Those have already been decided on without anyone even casting a vote.
Got to run.
Might as well, man. If a 20-year-old can run, I gotta be able
That's
to do
true.
it. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Have this is your first campaign, right?
Yes, this is my first campaign, yes.
And when it comes to campaigning, what have you found as far as like the difficulties in getting started? Because it's a big endeavor.
Right. Well, I'm just doing what I have some endorsements.
Okay.
From the TPP.
Oh,
and,
great.
Planned Parenthood.
Oh, that's terrific.
Oh, excellent.
Nice.
So, I'm just I'm writing a book, and I'm going to try to donate the proceeds to children's charities here
Okay.
in South Carolina.
I saw that. Yeah.
So tell me about the book.
So hot, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I promise.
I'll move that fan a little bit closer to you. Hold on.
Yeah, we can move that over.
Yeah, move it over there.
It's a poetry book, and it's got like story poems that I
Okay.
write. Yeah. I have a couple of them I could read if you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That'd be really cool. Yeah, no, that would be really cool. While you're getting those out, I'll just ask. So originally from Chicago,
Right.
and you spent several years in the military. You were in the Army, correct?
Right. I entered here in Fort Jackson.
Okay.
I did my basic training there,
Yeah.
and then
Sorry.
I'm sorry. And then from there, I went to South Korea, Chuncheon,
Okay.
Camp Page, and I spent a year on the DMZ.
Okay. Your military experience, as far as did you see? I know being in Korea that's considered active duty. Did you ever see any actual like fighting?
Well, the DMZ is a combat zone,
Right.
according to the Veterans Administration, and I heard live fire.
Yeah.
I ran into our tanks, American tanks, when I was patrolling the DMZ, and it's it's freezing up there.
Oh yeah.
So it's a tough. It was a tough. I don't know if they allow soldiers, U.S. soldiers, now to spend the night there. I don't know if they can. They probably just go there during the day and then they pull them out, and they keep the Republic of Korea soldiers doing the work there now.
Yeah.
But, it was pretty tough duty. Yeah.
And
it
that's called the 38th parallel.
the 38th parallel.
I believe so.
Yeah.
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 I saw an interesting video on exactly the back and forth that the North Korean versus the United States or the South Koreans, as far as like how many times that went back and forth over the course of like 60 days. And at one point, they were almost all the way down into the southern end of South Korea, and then all the way
perimeter.
and then all the way back up. And it was really just how much resources in the way of the United States was putting in versus how much resources the Chinese were putting or the Soviets were putting in.
When I was there, they had what was called the Burma Bombings. And, and so we were on alert. That was the closest point we ever went. We were going to go to war. It was. It was pretty
Well, that's
dangerous.
nuts.
Yeah, I've had several friends that were posted in Korea, or in South Korea, and most of them look at it as it's not a whole lot going on, but I guess there's always the potential that North Korea is going to fire a missile into the bay or something like that, and then you got to deal with that. So there's always that threat,
Right.
and as long as we can't get anyone to sign a treaty, then we'll just constantly be at a state of readiness.
Right. It's a state of war, basically.
Yeah.
Just a peace treaty.
Yeah.
Or a ceasefire.
Yeah. So please. I'd love to hear a poem.
Well, it's kind of. I'll give. It's a long one, but I'll.
Absolutely.
Oh, we got time on the All About Nothing.
I call this one "Blessings on His Side." He is tall, and he poses a striking figure of a man, and his classical Southern voice and style permeate confidence and a certain holiness and grace that makes all the men and women of his state feel in their hearts and minds that this man is great. When he stands at the podium in the State House and speaks, you see a modern-day George Washington, you see Andrew Jackson, and you see Robert E. Lee. This brilliant man is a religious man, and he relies on his experience and the revelations given to him by his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who empowers him with his guidance and leadership abilities to make command decisions in this mystical southern state to make it great and prosperous for its citizens. And Governor Henry Dargan McMaster is the greatest governor South Carolina has ever produced and has the blessings and prayers of his citizens by his side and the Heavenly Father high in the sky.
Yeah,
That's
good.
That's interesting. So I based on your writing, do I assume that you are a fan of Henry McMaster?
Well, he's I'm not a diss fan of his, but you have to have bipartisanship. I have nothing.
Sure.
He's a
Absolutely.
good. He's a good man. He's an older man. I mean, he's been in power for a while. He's been in politics for a long time, and I'm just having respect for him.
I understand
Sure.
that. Yeah. I understand. I think I ultimately I think anyone that can, first of all, maintain the popularity of and the ability to be reelected to office is difficult. especially in a state that's, South Carolina's changing and we're seeing demographics change. And, but yeah, I think, you mentioned in your Ballottopedia of recognizing Nikki Haley as being
someone
that you really look up to.
Yeah.
And I have to acknowledge, I recognize that not only did she maintain a very stateswoman like persona when it came to the Mother Emanuel shootings down in Charleston,
Right.
And then the after effect of that having been the governor when they pulled the Confederate flag down. But also the fact that during 2015, with all the flooding that went on, I have to acknowledge that that a lot of governors would have stood in the way because they like being behind that podium and talking for themselves to hear. And she stood out of the way and let federal, the FEMA, well, not just FEMA, but the Emergency Management Division of South Carolina do its job. First responders were provided the resources they needed. She got out of the way.
Right.
And I commend that because that's one thing I will acknowledge about McMaster's. He loves being in front of that camera.
Well, not really, but when it came down to the COVID thing, he definitely let the CDC or whoever was over that for our state talk. He made sure they answered the questions. He knew what to say and what not to say.
Hurricanes are McMaster's thing.
Correct. That's whenever he wants to talk to you.
When it comes to some of the issues that are obviously going to be represented in the legislature, one of the big ones is going to be women's health and abortions and the availability of abortions. Where do you stand on the abortion issue?
Especially since you're backed by Planned Parenthood.
Well, yeah, I'm for it. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they need to have the choice.
Yeah,
and.
It was bodily autonomy.
I voted for Mr. Cunningham in the primaries. So I like his issues. I like the fact that he wants to help raise teacher salaries.
Yes,
right.
And crime and roads and he's a great man and a great family and he'd make a great governor.
Yeah,
I think so too. There's nothing that, especially he gets on TikToks and tries to connect with the youth, and they're funny.
Yeah, no, he's got a social media presence. That's definitely.
He went out for one about people who aren't registered to vote because everybody needs to be registered to vote. Everybody's got to vote. It's your civic duty. But he came out. He's like, tell me something that's going to piss me off. He's like, Mondo's better than Boba Fett. And he's like, that'll do it.
Isn't Mondo better than Boba Fett?
Just shut up, Barrett.
All right, sorry. Marijuana. Obviously, that's going to have something to do in the next session because we saw the bill come over from the Senate in the last session that procedurally got knocked down because ultimately bills that have to do with the budget have to be presented by the House.
We got to have medical marijuana.
Yeah,
I mean, it's something that it's an issue we have to really work on.
Yeah,
and it's important.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people need it.
Yeah, as a veteran, one of the things I have to acknowledge is that medical marijuana being legalized across the country is something that the Veterans Affairs Association has been trying to push for more than 20 years.
PTSD, they say, helps a lot with that.
Yeah. With PTSD,
PTSD, but there are benefits beyond that is anxiety. That's associated with PTSD as well. Yeah. But that's one of those things. In South Carolina, we have a number of candidates that have sought the endorsement of NORML, which is the association for normalizing legalization of marijuana. Yeah. When it comes to recreational, if that was something that was introduced, is that something that you would potentially support as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would. I mean, there's other states doing it now.
Yeah.
It's the wave of the future. I mean, it could bring in some revenue.
Absolutely.
And if it's control, they have to use it in their home. You know what I mean? It's something that, or in the shops. I don't know exactly how they're doing it in Colorado.
Well, like give it the same laws you would give alcohol or anything like that. Like you're not going down. Well, some Savannah you can go down the street and drink your whatever. Right. Maybe there's certain places that'll do that, but
that's a municipal law though. That's a inside the city of Savannah. It's not Georgia. Georgia frowns on you walking around. I went to plenty of places outside of Atlanta and Savannah where
you can't bribe brown bag of joint.
Really? I didn't know you can actually get it there in Savannah.
In Savannah,
Yeah, no
well, in
kidding.
Savannah, alcohol.
Alcohol.
So in Savannah, alcohol you can walk around in the streets with an
yeah,
alcohol
with
that
an
you
open
purchase.
beer and
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Actually, that's one of those things that I've found out. Even with legalization of marijuana in places like Colorado and Massachusetts and things
Even
like
New
that,
York?
you can't actually just walk around on the street smoking it.
No.
You have to. You can purchase it legally, but you have to take it home. You have to. That is.
Yeah.
You know, and ultimately, I don't have an issue with that.
Nobody has an issue with that. I don't think. Nobody wants the person beside them with a joint being like, "Hey,
Clouding
bro,"
everybody out.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"But my son's in the car, man."
Can't do that. What are we doing?
I think a lot of it comes down to not prioritizing, but prioritizing in a sense, but also just the idea that when I hear someone say that they are against the legalization of marijuana, it's usually because they bring up things like, well, that's a gateway drug to other things, or this other. I find that those conversations really drain me in the sense that when it comes to the Republican stance on marijuana, it's usually from the standpoint of, well, it's illegal, so no. We have to come up with a solution with, providing the information. And I think one of the ways to do that, and I've discussed with other candidates, is the state of South Carolina has to put money into universities creating research around the benefits of marijuana.
Right.
Not only from an economic standpoint, but the medical standpoint of it as well.
And the biggest hangup, even when it's just medicinally available, is that research centers are not able to obtain it legally to research it.
Correct.
That's the biggest, problem that's coming up.
Right,
It's like,
right.
we want to know what are the side effects? What are the repercussions of it? Well, if it's still scheduled as a narcotic as it is, they can't get a hold of it to even test it.
And then you got schools. I know you hate us, but like Clemson, we could grow probably the best stuff. You know what I'm saying? We got some pretty good growers in Clemson. You know what I'm saying? Other than just marijuana, but I just wanted to sidetrack to what Barrett was saying as far as the legalization. How do you feel about expunging records and letting non-violent criminals out that have been arrested in the past if it does go through?
Well, I saw one of Joe Cunningham's YouTube videos, and he mentioned that he would like to do that.
Correct.
So I'm for that as well.
Okay.
I stand behind his idea on that.
Correct.
I think one of the things that I'd like to see come out of that as well, not only just the decriminalization and the expungement of records for nonviolent criminals, but I'd also like to see access provided in a state of legalized marijuana for recreational or medical use to allow for the licensing to go to those individuals first. That you were arrested for a crime that ultimately never should have been a crime.
Correct.
So here is your ability to get a permit to now to open your own shop or grow that sort of thing.
The only problem with that is they're having that problem in California.
Are they?
It's like, because they'll give you the licensing for it, but you have to have money now. It's too late. It's too late. If you have, it's
You
too
can't
late.
just
You
be a startup.
You can't be no startup person no more with medical marijuana because it's big business now.
Yeah.
So them giving the license doesn't automatically get them in the door. You get what I mean?
But states like South Carolina say could.
You could.
So like maybe like a access to a grant or something like that
To help
that could
you
provide
grow,
a
to
small
help start
business.
off. You know what I'm saying? Start a small business, and that, like you said, that'll bring in revenue. That'll bring in employees, employing more jobs.
You can fix these roads eventually.
I know Colorado got to be riding on some nice roads.
Oh, I
man.
bet they're all nice roads. Yeah, everything's
They're
nice.
not.
They're not?
No,
not?
not in Colorado.
Colorado's bad
don't get me wrong.
roads.
Don't
When's
get
the
me wrong.
last time you been, Barrett?
Colorado, it's been 10 years.
Since they've been it was after they.
That's fair.
Before they was
That's fair.
legalized. You never know.
That's fair. I'll accept that. When it comes to that's one of those things that we're gonna we have to reach across the aisles for this.
Yes.
Correct.
And working with the Republicans, because regardless of how many Democrats get elected, Republicans are still going to hold a major majority of the House as well as the Senate. So that's another one of those things. When it comes to even the abortion discussion, is that it's not necessarily about just allowing abortions at any point. I don't think anyone's in favor of this idea that that Democrats just want to have abortions all the time, every time.
No.
You know, that anyone is
I
recognizing.
don't think nobody wants to just have an
No,
abortion. I
it's
don't think
not.
wake up in the morning. I think I'll abort this kid. No, it doesn't go like that.
But the problem is that's the viewpoint.
Correct.
When it becomes an evangelical thing, you know, because they use this idea that
That's just a lack of critical thinking.
agreed, but there's still a lot of people out there that believe that.
Correct.
And so it's providing, it's working with Republicans to show that it's, compromise. It's
Correct.
coming up with, okay, so not an all-out ban on abortion, but potentially could we look at least 12 weeks? Is that a potential?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When it comes to working with Republicans as a businessman here in Columbia,
Yes.
I have to assume you provide, working in insurance, you work with everyone.
Yeah. Well, I predominantly work with seniors.
Okay.
People who are 65 and above with Medicare Advantage plans.
Sure.
And
Nice.
ups and stuff like that. Yeah. And they're mainly, I'm running into more Democrats, now, but most of them are Republican, and they stand with Governor McMaster on the
Heartbeat bill.
right.
That's another one of those things where I because I'm not sure what the age of Governor McMaster's children are, or even his grandchildren or his great grandchildren. But
They're probably Cunningham's age.
yeah, I always wonder, is it when you got into politics, or when you decided you were going to run, was it built on the belief that you had, and this is going to sound an odd question, but this idea that you already have the ideas that you want to work through, or is it that, because when I've contemplated running for office, it's not necessarily that my ideas are better than whoever's in office. It's that I think that I could work to make everything better.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know anything about politics, to be honest with you. I thought that I would try this to help people,
Yeah.
and I want to get money. I want to earn money to help these kids. I mean, there's a lot of kids that are coming home after school and they don't have anything to eat.
Yeah.
So I want to see about doing something about that. And I'm the kind of guy that if there's a problem, I'll go out there. I'll talk to people. I want to educate kids on HIV.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real problem here now.
Correct.
I mean, Colombia is the seventh in the country
Wow.
as far as
I did not know that.
as far as HIV. Now that's
We played an HIV benefit concert one time
Yep.
years ago.
Yep. For a friend that actually died on this road here, but it was for his mom. His mom actually has HIV, and
really.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah, it was a big benefit concert they had planned on. It was awesome to do
yes
that.
sir.
So what sort of solutions would you, particularly when it comes to
Let me.
children not having food when they get home? I know that in some school districts that they provide meal lunches that go home, but
After school programs too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll get breakfast, I think, and then lunch, and then when they go home, they don't
dinner.
have any food, nothing. And there was a lady, on the news screaming, saying these kids are starving.
yeah.
So this isn't a third world country. The solution would be to try to deliver food personally, and talk to these people and see why they're not feeding their children. It's not. I can't understand this.
Yeah,
in any way.
I think one of the things that I find disheartening is the idea that there are parents out there that are just neglectful.
Right.
I'm sure that there is a percentage of them, but I think that it's also the fact that
Spending money wrong.
well, but I can't put that on every parent. A child's at home, gets home from work, and the parents aren't there. Then I assume that a percentage of them is because they're working their
Late
second
nights.
job.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really, and they just wouldn't care about.
I was a latchkey kid.
Yeah.
But I grew up middle class, lower middle class, and our refrigerator was never empty.
Right.
But I know that there were individuals that
Didn't have food.
I would not have guessed that they were in that situation, but I know after the fact that there were kids that I went to school with 25, 30, 40 years ago, 35 years ago that were going home to an empty house and an empty refrigerator.
Wow.
And it's because their parents were working two jobs.
And that responsibility should never fall to the kid. And it does, I believe, fall to the state to help step in and do that.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that there is this idea that people are just being neglectful, or that they're taking advantage of a system too.
But that's such BS thinking, in my opinion, because medicine, the roof over your head, and food should not be something you have to gamble between which one you're going to have.
Right. Or which one you have to pay for
at any point.
Right.
That is ridiculous. And I do think that as a citizen of this state, the state has an obligation to step in and have to do
Absolutely.
something.
Yeah.
Especially in a situation where the state of South Carolina has already been given or has been granted the funding from the federal government to expand our Medicaid.
Right.
And we've made the legislature and the governor have made the decision that under no circumstance are they going to expand Medicaid, because there's this idea that we're going to have to pay it back.
Correct.
Which the country operates on deficit. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no such thing as operating in a
positive.
yeah.
Well, they have this extra to spend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even a good idea with that situation, like what you're saying, would be just imagine how much food is being thrown away from school cafeterias a day.
Absolutely.
Say, for instance, you box all box all that food up,
Those leftovers,
and just leave it in the cafeteria. And if the kid doesn't want to, he doesn't have to tell nobody I don't have food.
Right.
Walk to the cafeteria, grab you a plate. There's your dinner for the night.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying? Stuff like that.
Why waste the food? Yeah.
Why waste
that's
it?
a
You're gonna
great
throw it
idea.
away. You're gonna throw it away.
Restaurants too, and I know there's some restaurants who do it, but
Exactly.
like your throwaways, man, save them. Like put them out on a little table at the end of the night. Free, come get it.
Exactly.
That's what we have left over. Come get
Yeah.
it. Yeah, you might have a whole thing full of mashed potatoes, but there you go.
You got something to eat.
Something to eat.
What I like to do is I talk to a lot of kids, like my nephew. I'm trying to get him to join the Army, or the Air Force, because he's out of high school, and so is my niece, and they really don't know what to do. It's hard for them to. I think the military is a good option for kids graduating high school.
Yeah.
I do too. I tried to join. I failed ASVAB over at Fort Jackson. Yeah. They were like, you had blood sugar problems? Yeah. And you had asthma? Yeah. And they're like,
You can join the Air Force and sit
Sir,
behind the desk.
I did 4 years of ROTC. I think I can handle this.
I can handle a little PT,
Yeah,
man.
I can do PT, man. Yeah.
I also want to say one of the ideas that I think should be instituted either at a state level or at a federal level is this. I absolutely am of the idea that when it comes to secondary education, our universities and things like that, that they should be operating tuition free, that they are receiving enough money from the state as we're paying taxes for these universities. The University of South Carolina is going to be $26,000 for 2 semesters this coming year.
Wow.
And what is that money going to that our taxes aren't also already going to? So I believe that universities should be operating tuition free, but I think you still have to earn it. I think that as a state that we could potentially create a program of civil service. So let's say you want to go to the University of Clemson. Not you necessarily, Zach, but let's say Trent
I
wants
will
to go
tell
to-
you this. The smartest advice I ever got, and I heeded it likely, and you don't go to a university because you pull for a football team.
Sure, agreed.
Ever.
Facts. That's very true.
If Clemson, I went
You
to
want to
Wake,
be a civil engineer, you go to Clemson.
I went to Wake Forest. I'm a South Carolina fan. I went there because
Yeah.
I wanted to do game design and development.
yeah.
Smart. Very smart.
Fine.
Yeah.
If you want to be the boss of the civil engineer, you go to Georgia Tech.
Correct. Yeah. It's got a point.
But the idea of having some sort of program in place to be to work in some sort of civil service, whether it's military or it's policing or some sort of civil service that could then go into, I guess, paying for your school program, paying for your tuition. So again, it's not you just being given school; it's that you've done something for 2 to 4 years.
You have to toe
earn
the
that.
line.
Yeah. And then if you go to Clemson, then and you become an engineer, you
Now,
have to
do
root
you-
for them for at least 2 years.
Now, do you mean like in state, or
Sure.
what you're saying is for only in state, like for people that's
I'm-
like South
I
Carolina?
lost my scholarship going to Wake Forest.
I'm saying that that South Carolina could be a pilot program for some sort of civil service that would earn you the credits to go to school
Okay.
and do well in school.
Correct.
Not just go there and mess
Lollygag,
around,
yeah.
but just but that earns you the ability, and that's something I think that South Carolina potentially could again pilot.
Right.
So one of the other things that comes up in South Carolina is we have found ourselves in the top 10 of gun violence.
Wow.
We keep edging our numbers up. We keep having shootings every weekend, or almost every single day.
They were beating Chicago almost, I think.
Yeah.
Close.
Per capita,
Yeah,
per capita, South Carolina
yeah.
beats Chicago,
Which is crazy.
per capita.
Well, I have a concealed weapons permit. Now, these guys are buying these guns illegally, and are they just?
There is, well, when it comes to mass shootings and shootings in school and things like
Right,
that,
right.
a lot of what they find is those guns have been purchased legally because there is not a background check that really is able to pull the data that it needs to when it comes to mental health.
Yeah.
Or,
yeah.
Or even at Jamil Temple. A lot of the guns are getting bought at Jamil Temple,
when they have
gun
shows and things like
they're
that.
Not you think the FBI is calling is answering the phone on a Saturday for that call?
And they only have to call like twice.
So I used to know one of the gentlemen that ran the gun shows at the Jamil Temple, and when asked the question, how do they handle background checks? Well, it wasn't really answered because when it comes to private dealers handing out or selling firearms, they have to keep track of the information, stock number, serial numbers, that sort of thing. But when it comes to the actual background check, I couldn't get an actual information. I couldn't get an answer that was specific because it's a room full of gun dealers.
Correct.
So making sure that everyone is following to the T, which is why there should be some sort of state law, in my opinion, that actually every single transaction that involves a firearm has someone that is a licensed dealer that actually, that conducts the background check.
Right.
South Carolina, I also think, probably could benefit from having some sort of a waiting period. Now, that's not gonna get rid of the guns that are illegal, that are being sold illegally on the street.
No.
Or the ones that the biggest influx of firearms apparently that goes into the illegal firearm sales are the ones where people break into somebody's house.
Correct.
Take them.
They're usually not going after jewelry or China or anything like that. They're going after the guns. They're looking for guns.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things that it makes it difficult to curtail the gun violence if that's how those guns are being gotten. But again, I think while that is a piece of the gun violence,
it's not
debate,
the whole thing.
It's not. My biggest thing is children in schools and the gun violence that occurs that could potentially happen in South Carolina because, we're about to start another school year.
Yeah.
And when we start that next school year, what are we going to see as far as, I don't want it to happen, but I fear that it's going to.
Correct.
Don't they have policemen in the schools now? Or?
They have resource officers.
Yeah.
But as we saw in Uvalde, Texas, they had 300 police officers that were there that
Couldn't take one down.
they were scared for their own lives.
That's an issue we need to really work on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a serious. It's very bad.
Yeah.
Is it like night and day? Tell me about some of your experiences in Chicago. About did you have to deal with any gun violence in Chicago when you was there?
Well, I don't really remember that because I was just a young kid. We moved to Wisconsin.
Okay.
So when I was there, it wasn't as bad as it is now.
Correct.
I mean, it's terrible. That's a dangerous city.
Yeah, they call it Chirac.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Dangerous city. But this down here, we got a problem with that here. I mean,
Correct. We do.
So,
Absolutely. I was going to ask you, apropos of your poem before we go, who are your favorite poets?
Ooh. That's a good question.
Who is my favorite?
You don't have to have a one. You can give a few.
Yeah.
Maybe a top 5.
Maybe a top 5.
I like Carl Sandburg.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, he has some poems, doesn't he? I mean, but I really can't think of any. I'm not really. I do writings,
It's kind of something that moves through you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I totally get that. I used to when I was in college. I wrote a lot myself.
My book it should be out in about a month, and it's going to be on Amazon and on the Dorrance website.
Okay.
So I'll have a lot of exposure for people to
Audiobook it?
Right. And
Nice.
And it's going to go to charity. Anything I can derive out of this publication will go to children's charities for South Carolina.
I look forward to picking up a copy of it.
Thanks.
I love that.
Yes, sir.
I'm a big fan of Charles Bukowski. I think he's one of my all-time favorites. The Barfly.
And I love Maya Angelou.
Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
Got to meet her once.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know she's on a quarter now, right?
Is she?
Yeah, they put
Is
her on
she
the quarter.
really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
She's probably one of the sweetest ladies I've ever
I have
met.
one more poem I can read.
Oh yeah, come on.
Yeah, no,
Come on with it.
we'll read a poem, then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back. So let's do that.
This one is called Sophia Loren Eyes. Her long, elegant legs move gracefully in front of my eyes, and as she passes in front of me, her image becomes a permanent fixture in my mind. Her hair is the color of honey, and she is my Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love. She is Beatrice Barriomillo, and I want to write about her till I immortalize her elegance in front of a world audience through my writings and the love that I have for this Italian beauty, which is ingrained in my soul and every fiber of my being. So I kneel down in front of her and look up at her and worship her Sophia Loren eyes.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
He's deep, man. Oh
was
no,
good.
no, man, you gotta. Come on,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
I love it.
Don't disrespect.
We're going to take a quick break. Daniel Shrief is here, Democratic nominee for District 88, South Carolina, House of Representatives. So we're going to come back and discuss a little bit more of your campaign after the break.
All right, thank you.
This is the All About Nothing podcast. All right, Nothingers, I want to cue you in about a friend of the pod, Blank Canvas Brand. If you own a business or restaurant and the time has come to build that unique brand, you have got to get a hold of Blank Canvas Brand. Blank Canvas Brand specializes in brand identity, including logos, business cards, flyers, and anything else to promote your business. And now, Blank Canvas Brand offers printing services to help with your clothing needs, including sports teams. I can tell you from our own experience, Blank Canvas Brand is responsible for our logo, as well as the Bowl of Duty bowling team logo, and we couldn't be happier with what's been produced. For more information, you can search Facebook for Blank Canvas, or you can email Blank Canvas at theallaboutnothing.com. That's BLNKCANVS at theallaboutnothing.com. You can find links in the Friends of the Pod section of our website. Visit theallaboutnothing.com. Hey everyone, I want to take a quick moment to mention one of our new sponsors, thepaintedmoment.com. That's thepaintedmoment.com. Check this out. Have you ever taken a photo with your phone or digital camera that would look amazing as a watercolor canvas painting? Well, now there's a website ready to take your photo and turn it into digital painted moments. This is how it works. Visit thepaintedmoment.com, follow the instructions, and your digital photo will be enhanced and returned to you with links on where you can have an image printed to canvas or whatever else you'd like to do with it. We've already got a couple of these enhanced photos hanging around the house, and trust me, you'll love what comes out. Thepaintedmoment.com. Create a painted moment in time from your digital photos. Thepaintedmoment.com. Seriously, check them out today. Thepaintedmoment.com. What is a vaccine? What is a virus? What is a mask? What's a Sasquatch? These are all valid questions, and to answer them in one breath, prevention, potentially deadly, potentially life-saving, and don't be stupid. Look, the coronavirus from 2019 has caused a global pandemic that continues to ravage our planet, leaving victims and survivors. But you can do your part. In the United States, as well as most countries around the world, the COVID-19 vaccine is available at little to no cost. Regardless of your politics, this virus has the potential to cause irreparable harm to you and vulnerable family members and friends. We have an opportunity through the efforts of medical science to balance the scales against this disease and its variants. And look, I don't understand how the vaccine works, even though I've heard it described countless times by countless experts. And even though none of that makes any sense to me, I do recognize that the money and effort spent on the vaccine has not been wasted. And it's not a global positioning transmitter being embedded in your arm. You're holding that in your hand, listening to this. So get the vaccine. Protect yourself. Protect your loved ones. Hell, protect the guy standing behind you waiting on his taco supreme and nacho fries. Let that be the reason his organs shut down. For more information, visit covid19.nih.gov for actual science information. We have to thank our sponsor, GOT Sound Studio, and its owner and operator, Dominique Stewart, better known as Neek the Geek. GOT Sound Studios offers a variety of recording experiences from music, voice, and instrumental recordings and production, as well as podcasts. GOT Sound Studio is located in Columbia, South Carolina, and operated by the most talented producer and engineer in the business. GOT Sound Studio is a Black-owned business. Bring your recording business needs here. You can find details on their Facebook page or by calling 803-243-2302 or emailing gotsounds@theallaboutnothing.com. theallaboutnothing.com. That's GOT Sounds at theallaboutnothing.com. You can find links in the Friends of the Pod section of our website. Visit theallaboutnothing.com.
This is Daniel Duncan, candidate for South Carolina House District 14 in Lawrence County. And in case you bumped your head and forgot, you're listening to the All About Nothing podcast.
All right, welcome back to this episode of the All About Nothing podcast. Trent Clark, Barrett Gruber, Zac King. We are joined by Daniel Shrief, who is the Democratic nominee for District 88, South Carolina House of Representatives. Thank you very much again, Daniel, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Also, thank you for running.
Thank you.
I mentioned it before. I think one of the difficult things about running in South Carolina is the fact that incumbents almost always get reelected. I think the percentage is like 99% of incumbents get elected. You basically somebody has to die in order to get their job. I think this year is going to be different. I think we're going to see Democrats overtaking some of these Republican offices.
Blue SC.
Well, have the incumbents have they done their job?
No.
Okay.
No.
That is the problem.
I mean, what are they supposed to do? I mean, what were we looking for in this district?
When it comes to a representative in the House, so for District 88, I think one of the things that people look at the most is infrastructure.
Right.
So our roads, I'm not sure where you live. I live off of Kittiwake.
Yeah, they're doing some work on it right now.
Yeah.
And you told me it took them, 10 years? Or something like that?
Yeah. I'd like to. I want to point out that RJ May is taking credit for this idea that he's now gotten this process started, but it was scheduled.
Right.
It was scheduled 10 years ago because that was when they started putting up the detour signs. Was about 7 years ago.
Are you sure they weren't waiting for the COVID money?
I don't think so.
So the people in the district talked to this man and said, we need better roads.
Yeah. And essentially the idea is that, so from a state legislative standpoint, he then tries to work into the bills, or he tries to work into some of the issues to have money allocated to improve the roads. We have several in District 88, we have mostly just residents. There's not a lot of big businesses. I know there's a couple Walmarts and things like that. We got car dealerships down on Not Sabbath.
Yep. Right. Not Sabbath.
So you have some businesses and a lot of banks and things like that. But for the most part, I think one of the big issues in District 88 is going to be education, because we have a number of school systems, whether it's District 1 or District 2, Lexington, and it turns out within the last few months we found out that both Airport High School and Brooklyn Casey apparently have had an issue with their accreditation because they were passing students without actually testing them.
Wow.
Few children left behind there.
Yeah.
So how can we resolve that? I mean, what?
I think issues like that it's really mostly holding the school districts accountable. It's holding those schools accountable, and by taking away their accreditation is potentially will correct it.
Right.
I think
and fund
that
the
will.
teachers, make them. You know, if they're paid right, they're going to care more.
That is a big issue. That is.
I mean, that's with every job, though.
I think making sure that our teachers, in order to keep good teachers in the districts, you have to make sure that you are paying them the value.
Like a big thing that goes on now are teachers. Like I know a bunch of teachers personally and them having to make Amazon lists and ask people to buy supplies for their classroom. Yeah. That should never have to happen. And we're talking minimum $1,000 for some of these lists.
Wow.
Just to make sure kids have pencils, they have things to supply that should never have to happen.
The TI-84 was always a problem with certain high schools.
Calculators, no parent should have to go out and spend $150 on a calculator.
So what's the representative going to do about this? I mean, is he going to go to the school and talk to these people and then?
So I think one of the things that, as a representative, what we would hope would be that they would go and talk to the administrators.
Right.
They'd find out what the issues are, but administrators are always going to give a high-level idea of what it is. I think actually having a town hall with teachers would probably be the most benefit to actually get what it is that they think needs to happen.
And they're going to butter the problem.
Yeah.
If you go there and talk to them.
Yeah.
They're not going to really tell you what's really happening.
Well, and they also think they're there because you're going to get them in a position and get them in trouble more so than I'm here to fix something. Be completely honest with
yes.
And
like Barrett saying, like town meetings, that definitely where is where the honesty we have been seeing lately has really came out. People true feelings really show whenever they're speaking at town councils because they feel like what they're saying is being heard, and if it's being telegraphed, it's definitely being heard. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
So those issues would then be presented to a committee at the state level in the legislature. That those issues would be presented, and then they would debate and try and work through how to best present that. And a lot of the time, states, the idea is that you have to throw money at it.
Yeah.
You have to fix it by giving money. Teacher raises. That's foremost. That's probably one of the biggest things, because we continue to see. I think there's 17,000 in the entire state of South Carolina. 17,000 abandoned positions in the state of South Carolina for teachers. That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, the state of Florida's got more than 400,000 abandonment, and they're actually presenting right now the idea that if you were in the military for more than 2 years, that you can be now a teacher in the state of Florida. So the idea is that I don't understand.
Florida's keep getting crazier and crazier.
Yeah, but essentially to fill some of those roles, they're leaning on the potential of having former military personnel become teachers, or just accrediting them in order to become teachers. I don't know that necessarily works, but
Are those the teachers they're talking about putting guns in the hands of because I guess they have training?
yeah. First of all, let me again just point out it's Florida.
We don't need 100 PE teachers in your elementary school. No offense to PE teachers.
Correct, they are the best.
Yeah, they are the best. But you need somebody. You're educating a future, hopefully productive member of society.
Maybe even a president.
You want to try and shape and mold the best person you can in the most truthful way possible.
So these issues are going to be discussed for 3 or 4 months.
Correct.
Is that what and then what happens?
And then once the committees present them as bills for the state to vote on, then they get voted on in the House. They pass the House. They go to the Senate. They vote the Senate. They pass there. They go to the governor's desk. They become law. And at that point, they get funded. That's the point at which they have the backing. They become a law so that then they can be instituted.
Right.
When it comes to District 88, I think that's the number one resource is education, is students. So that's going to be one of the biggest issues. I know that there's a number of from an insurance standpoint, there's a number of medical companies, things like that. We have several ambulance companies that do medical transports in the West Columbia, Casey area.
Yes,
those are pretty big, and I think that when it comes to their billing, whether it's to insurances or Medicare, that sort of thing, that it's those are making those sort of situations easier for them so that they can prosper as businesses, so that they can hire more people. South Carolina is getting older. I don't think we're seeing we were discussing children, having more children. I don't think South Carolina has the positive birth rate that we're seeing in other states.
Well, they say there's 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every day here in the state.
Goodness.
But
that's something to think about.
That's something Joe talks about too when for positions like governor and stuff, like when judges have to retire at 65 or something. What did he say? There's so many jobs that require you that police officers, federal investigators, 65 I think was what it was, 70 for judges.
There's a retiree line.
You kind of have to get at times fresh opinions in it, and someone can't just appoint something for so long. That I think that's a big problem too. Like McMaster, the one thing Joe Cunningham, a big point he makes is McMaster's been in politics longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
And okay, it's time for some fresh ideas when it comes to that point.
Well, and not even just, sometimes it's not even just fresh ideas. It's just the ideas that sometimes McMaster's, I think, presents are outdated.
Right.
I think, I also have a concealed weapons permit, so I can carry as well. And I am a proponent of the Second Amendment, but I'm also a proponent of responsibility when it comes to gun ownership. And I think that South Carolina lacks in some of the aspects that should be part of getting a permit. I know that I had to take a test. I know that I had to show that I had the ability to fire a firearm under control at several, 5, 10, 15
and you
yards.
You get taught about when you fire a firearm, you have to think about what's behind the target as well. Which people who aren't trained are just going to blam, shoot innocent people.
But I am also a proponent of the idea that you don't just get the ability that if you get your license once, that you get that for the rest of your life, as long as you keep paying your $50 every 5 years. I think that you should retest. I think that should be something that's part of,
Just like driver's license, I feel like the same way. But
I agree. I am not against the idea of at least taking some sort of a written test. We have the technology. People could take tests online now, but at least some sort of written test that you could take that isn't going to pass or fail you on the idea, but at least it instills the idea that there are certain portions of that test that could remind you, oh yeah, I need to use my blinker when I'm changing lanes, or I can't pass on the right.
I literally just had to go to the DMV today and get my license renewed, and the only thing that I had to do was read a line of numbers.
Yeah.
And if I didn't read that right, then she probably wouldn't have gave me my license.
Try it again.
Yeah, try it again. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's what they do. That's exactly what they do. If I read that line wrong, and they've got it memorized, but if I read that line wrong, that's the first thing.
That's when you
can
put it
try
up
that
there
again?
and you one-eye that bad boy.
I think one of the aspects of campaigning is that you're going to find is when it comes to the actual campaigning part, in District 88, one of the things that I've recognized is walking the neighborhoods, is knocking on doors. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party have access to all of the voter records as far as voting in primaries. And District 88 doesn't have a great record of Democrats running and voting in the primaries, which depletes the information available. But Judd Larkins is running for the congressional seat in our district. In our district as well. And I think piggybacking up off of the congressional runs as well as the senators, we're going to have Lisa Ellison here, who's running as superintendent for Department of Education for South Carolina. And I think she is a fantastic candidate, mostly because she's a teacher and she meets the criteria of what it takes. Where, Weaver is still working on getting her master's, and she might get it. It's Bob Jones University. Let's just assume she's paid the money to get it. But yeah, it's a difficult thing to make that decision to run because, it's a different environment. Going into the state house it takes being the person that's going to reach across the aisle, that's going to discuss the issues with the other legislators to figure it out.
And speaking of, what are some of the things when you found out you wanted to run for office that you said, okay, if I get in there, this is what I want to do?
Well, I want to know what the people want, and then I'm going to represent that. I don't know exactly, the schools. You mentioned this is a problem. Yeah. We need to discuss that issue, and but I want to help. I want to help people. I want to help children. I want to stop hunger for get these kids some food security. Yeah. I'm a blood platelet donor. Okay. I give platelets every 2 weeks, and there's an extreme shortage of platelets right now. Yes. So I'm trying to help that way, and I'm trying to get other people to donate. Yeah.
No, that's a fantastic idea. Potentially working with the Red Cross to have them come do a mobile blood drive for a campaign. That'd be great.
I remember Chapin used to have them pull up all the time.
Oh, I would when I was in high school.
Yeah, when people used to pass out.
Well, I never passed out. I will say
as soon as they see their own blood.
Of all the baseball players and football players, we would do this thing where we would see who could pump out the
most blood.
Who could do it the most, who could do it the quickest.
Oh, okay.
And that was always fun to watch because you have a whole line of football players sitting over there just.
Wait till you get on a dialysis machine and it starts sucking it out for you. You're just like,
oh yeah.
Okay. Ow.
But yeah, no, that's. I think those are all very commendable issues. When it comes to infrastructure in District 88, I know that we have a lot of state roads that need attention.
Right.
Like I said, Kitty Road, where I live, is now getting attention.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's probably needed attention even before I moved here.
Correct.
And I've been here for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to make the decision to even run because you're putting yourself out there. What was some of the when you told people that that you were going to run for office? What was their reaction?
Well, I don't know a lot of people, to be honest.
He said the ones I know, they said it was cool.
That's
Get going.
that's fair. You know what? I often think that maybe the hermit lifestyle would probably be the most beneficial to me. But
Especially
Well,
running.
Daniel, you know 3 new people.
that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, and you've got advocates here. So
You guys are
Correct.
great guys.
Thank you.
we appreciate that. That I don't think I've heard it. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, here we go.
Oh.
Just because your wife tells you you're a great guy,
Yeah.
that doesn't count.
Come on, man.
She has to.
I also wanted to ask about the redistricting. One of the things that we find in South Carolina, because Republicans are in control, is that district lines get drawn to favor Republican parties. Our district is pretty much already that. It's very favorable just in the way that it's been drawn, but it's not absurd. We've had other candidates in here, Daniel Duncan, and last week we had Bill Kilmer in here, who's up in Greenwood, and his district is drawn like a backwards Pac-Man.
Correct.
Big U.
It's
Big section cut out in the middle.
Yeah, but I think one of the things that I would like to see out of our state legislator is to acknowledge that these districts need to be drawn more evenly, not necessarily to benefit one party versus the other, but just
Make it make
representation.
sense.
Yeah, representation. You're doing it by the numbers anyhow. Just draw it so that the district is represented. Is representative of the people that live in that district.
I agree with you. Yeah.
Also, the idea of making voting accessible to everyone. I think this is an issue that's going to continue to become bigger and bigger as we continue to move through. South Carolina, I have not found, has made a lot of difficult ways in voting. We do require you to have a photo ID to vote, but there are states like Texas that potentially are going to reinstitute the idea that you have to be able to read. They will do a literacy test.
Oh man.
At the ballot, basically you come
I don't
in.
know if Texas should be the one.
You
I
have
can't
a lot
read
of
for shit.
a lot of Spanish, Mexican.
Yeah, that's the idea, is that because there's a lot of people that have come in and they want to make sure that you can read in English before it's a racial way of trying to discriminate people from being able to vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very sad.
But as a poll worker, I think South Carolina is extremely easy. I've mentioned in some of my previous episodes that there have been situations where I was for the primary back in June. I actually had a woman come in who did not want to show me her ID because, as she said, and I quote, "That law wasn't written for me." To have to show her photo ID was a law that was not created.
You're not a voter then.
She was outright admitting that she knew that vote was meant to hamper somebody else's
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So did she show you the ID?
Oh, she eventually pulled it out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, Barry, you can't be breaking the law for some. They're all like, hey, go to the guy that's
Not very many stipulations here,
DJ
but this
Fuzzy.
is the one.
Yeah. Well, it's clearly posted everywhere. This is what's required in order to be able to vote. And she eventually. She didn't want to.
Correct.
She wanted to make sure that I knew that she knew what the law was and that she did not think it was written for her.
wow.
Yeah, it's.
That's why I cannot be a pollster.
Oh no!
Barry, you want me and Zach to come there and get in fist fights?
I'm working on.
Fought a guy.
I'm working on getting permission to have a microphone set up at the check-in site where we check in the voters, because that's where the most interesting stuff happens.
I bet.
I've had voters that came through and would tell stories about. There was one individual. I'll make this quick. One individual who was a police officer from New York, and he said that when he was a police officer in New York for the elections, that he would stand and watch over the elections, and watch as they would take hundreds and hundreds of ballots into a trash, or basically into a plastic bag, and then dump them into a dumpster.
Oh, did they, sir?
But he said that he would talk. He would tell like his ranking officers that this was what was going on, and they would all just sweep it under. I cannot believe that was going on.
Barrett,
I cannot believe that was what.
I don't know why you don't.
I don't know why.
Because we have an electronic trail. Like when we vote, that you check in, We know
Barrett, how
if
many
the
trash bags full of votes?
Not one.
Barrett probably was like,
full of
yes, sir.
Hey, look,
But it wasn't sugar, honey, ice, and tea. I'll tell you that.
Hey, South Carolina look mighty blue.
And I know.
Pass.
There's no way. There's
Georgia
no
did
way
not
you can
go
have that
blue.
effect. There's no way you can have that effect on that. It just doesn't work.
I'm looking for 11,385 funds.
780.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I will forever remember that phone call.
Where are they at?
That I think that's one of the things I as far as Donald Trump and his. Did you see the video? Did you see him at his golfing over the past weekend?
Where he was talking about Brittany?
I saw the Crypt Keeper dressed up as Donald Trump.
Well, there's a video of a couple individuals that got onto the course, and I guess that they were technically working, but they were filming it. And I'm not sure which hole he was swinging on.
Was it the one where he's like, "Give me some fame"?
No, one of them said something about you can be able to hit you put in all this money for this course and you're not just to miss the green on this one.
Yeah.
And then he clung, it went into the pond. But at the end of it, he said something about he came in a little short, just like that second term.
Oh man,
Who said that?
He didn't react.
you know it's the Secret Service job to go get that ball, right?
You know, he was just hitting clumps of grass after that.
I have to acknowledge, and I don't know that Donald Trump heard them, but he held his cool, and which was something I did not expect.
What's he gonna do?
Well,
Ain't the live tour, bro.
I expected him to react.
Especially since it's his course, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Maybe, I mean, his wife just got buried at one of his golf course too. So you know.
on the behind the first tee, right?
She's right there. I promise.
Ivana.
This is real. This
She
is
always
true.
wanted people to tee off on her.
Chill.
Oh,
chill.
that's dirty. No, she is legitimately buried under
golf
behind
course.
the first tee at the Bedminster golf course.
Oh, I don't have to worry about playing that golf course.
No, that's potentially true. I just thought it was really odd.
Kind of eerie a little bit.
Shanked off the headstone.
But it turns out everyone, all of the Trump family will probably be buried at
Golf
that
courses?
golf course. Yeah, because they've had a section of it designated as a cemetery.
Well, you got to think about it. You don't have to. He probably doesn't have to pay
It's already
money
been paid for.
Yeah,
It's already been paid for.
Yeah.
So he's just taking the cheap way out.
Correct.
I don't know. I guess I don't know. It's not that I have any like ups or downs or any ways or means about it. It's just it just seems odd that the people that visit the Bedminster will have to walk over Ivana's grave and eventually over Donald's grave. And
Remember, he kept talking about how Obama golfed too much,
yeah, well,
and that's pretty much
look,
all of what Trump is all about.
there is a level of
You never catch me
denial.
golfing.
Yeah, there's a
Hot calling the kettle black.
there's a level of denial that I don't think I you know, and as far as Democrats do it too. I will fully acknowledge that it is something that goes on both sides.
Oh,
They will
BS
call out
is
somebody. Yeah, they will call out something on one side that they know that their guys are doing too, but just somebody else is getting more attention for it.
Exactly. I did want to mention the PACE Act. What was the one that John
PACT Act
got passed?
Yes, did it get passed
Yes,
today?
they got passed today.
So, if you don't know what the PACT Act is, that is essentially it's an allotment of money that's going to be given to handle the sicknesses that have been created from our
Burn
military
pits.
officers having to be around burn pits while they're deployed. So, a burn pit, if you don't know what it is, essentially is just it's basically just a pit where they burn trash.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and it's not just, it's human excrement.
It's
everything. Everything gets thrown in these burn pits. And it's also going to designate that there's an allotment of money that will help soldiers that were affected by Agent Orange. So this is something that's been working for the last 20 years. They've been trying to get this in. And so I didn't hear the news.
It took Jon Stewart screaming
Yeah.
at representatives.
I have to acknowledge, I think there seems to be an outcry for Jon Stewart to run for office.
He should.
But I don't want Jon Stewart to represent one group or be president or anything like that. I want Jon Stewart to still have the availability to do what it is that he does.
We had about 20 years of Jon Stewart. He's not going to just.
Yeah, but he's not now. Now he's not confined to
just that.
Just that. Now he can go, like he literally stood outside the steps of Congress screaming at representatives as they passed by him. No, senators. As they passed by him, he did what I would like to do,
Yeah.
which is basically I want a camera and a microphone, and every time a senator passes by,
How do you sleep at night?
how do you? Yeah, just if you could just acknowledge for the camera, or can I assume by your silence that that you are in favor of children dying, or you
don't care about first responders.
make them talk.
Yeah. That's facts.
Because ultimately, I think that's what Jon Stewart does. Is like he got in front of the camera to basically tell Ted Cruz, "You're a liar.
You're a massive liar."
And I get that senators and congressmen are going to do that or they're going to paint around how they answer questions and things like that. But this is one of those things that, like, the PACT Act, when it came back from the House, had one line that was removed. That's basically what happened.
Well, and they all lied directly to all these men's faces.
Oh, yeah.
Directly why they were in there.
Yeah,
we're going to pass that thing. What, an hour and a half later, 2 hours later, in there to vote on it?
Fist bumping.
Boom. Yep.
The Republican fist bumping to at the excitement that they took one of the Democrats.
Yeah.
And essentially the reason they did it was because the Democrats had this deal that they worked out with Joe Manchin in the background to basically get this
designated money, and then the other one, which is called discretionary.
Yeah,
funds.
the difference between mandatory and discretionary.
Yeah.
Which it was always mandatory.
The Republicans have in every bill. It's a normal. That is basically like saying paper white.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's I think at a state level, of course, it's different, but it's also going to be a lot of the same. There's going to be those people that. There's a number of representatives in the House in South Carolina that are all lawyers.
Right.
And the reason that they do this state housing legislating is because it benefits them.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think anyone gets into office specifically to take control or be. I don't think that they go into office corrupted. I think the potential is that they get corrupted in office. So my hope is that when you do get elected and you beat RJ May, is that you'll continue to fight to make sure to benefit, because children are going to be, again, I think the number one resource in South Carolina right now, until we get marijuana. I think the number one resource is going to be children, and education is that fundamental stand, is the base at which the children are become the most important resource.
I agree, and I'm going to work hard for that. I get the opportunity to have this job.
It's win.
Thank you.
It's win.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Daniel Shrief, again, Democratic nominee for District 88 here in South Carolina. If you can, just make sure we're going to get some information to you. We'll make sure to add it to the show notes so that you can support his campaign. As always, thank you, Neek the Geek, engineer and producer, owner and operator of GOT Sound Studio. Check out details on how you can utilize his talent and production expertise at gotsoundstudio.com. Thanks to Muff the Producer. You can follow him on Instagram at Muff the Producer. Thanks to Shiana Rivers for our intro and outro. Follow her podcast, Who You Callin' Holistic. As well, thanks to Trent Clark, aka DJ Lonzo, currently entertaining the main course in Columbia, South Carolina. Make sure to go by, have a good time. You can contact Trent for all your entertainment needs. Trent at theallaboutnothing.com and on Instagram at TheRealDJLonzo, or by phone 803-262-7982. If you enjoy the show, consider becoming a patron by visiting our website and clicking on the link at the top of the browser. That will take you over to our Patreon page. You can find details on how you become a supporter. You can check out our benefits there, or just consider a donation so that we can continue to bring you this nonsense. We enjoy doing it. We enjoy you enjoying it. As always, you can follow us on Facebook. Just search for All About Nothing US, on Twitter and Instagram at AAN_pod, or find links to all of our social media and available podcast platforms by visiting theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be heard on the show, you may call and leave us a message, 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is too far apart, you can fill that time by checking out our partner podcasts. Zach and I host What the Pod Was That with Carrie Simmons, available on most of your podcast platforms. You can visit whatthepodwasthat.com for links and details. Carrie and Chrissy host Status Macabre on most of the podcast platforms as well. Find details at statusmacabre.com. As well, you can check out our own DJ Lonzo's Top 5, hosted by Trent Clark, available on most of your podcast listening platforms. As well, I want to make sure, and I point this out at the end of every show now, but all across the country, there is a shortage of poll workers. And so I'm going to bring it up again. If you don't know, if you have the time and you have the ability, it's one day, including like 2 hours of training. But if you have the availability, we need poll workers, because we want to make sure that voting is accessible to everyone. And that means having enough people there to help run those polls. So just go to Google, search for poll worker, and then put in your county or put in your zip code, and it will give you the information you need, and you'll be able to use that to contact your county so that you can also volunteer to poll work. Again, they pay, So it's not like you're doing it for free. It's being taken care of. I also want to mention that if you haven't already, you can check for your voter registration. We've made it easy. You can go to theallaboutnothing.com and there's a link that you can go and check your voter registration. It's right there at the top of the page. Go check it, make sure. Do it multiple times between now and the election because there's a lot of states out there that are playing games. So do that. This is the All About Nothing podcast. I want to thank you, Trent Clark, Zac King. Thank you, Daniel, for being here with us. We really appreciate it. And as far as that goes, anybody got anything else?
Have a week.
This The All About Nothing podcast is recorded live from the Maddie Johnson podcast studio at GOT Sound Studio in Columbia, South Carolina. The All About Nothing podcast is produced and engineered by Neek the Geek, owner and operator of GOT Sound Studio. To support the show, please visit theallaboutnothing.com for links to social media, merchandise, and more. Become a patron of the show by following the Patreon link at the top of our page. The All About Nothing podcast is an entertainment product of Barrett Gruber. Special thanks to Zac King, Trent Clark, Muff the producer, Neek the Geek, and you, our listeners. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share. If you're on YouTube, please hit the like button and the notification bell. Thank you for listening.